And I didn't know
It's
if you want
wild.
to get in this or not, but did you want to get into the what you told us when we were on your podcast about where the regulations are going for childhood obesity and childhood type 2 diabetes, which there never used to be such thing. Do you want to talk about what you told us? Because
Absolutely.
it made me so mad. I couldn't believe that they're doing this. And this can actually absolutely ruin children. So
I wanted to get you fired up. I wanted to
yeah,
kind of
you
poke the
did.
bear a
You
little
did
bit. Good, good. That's
it.
great. Oh boy. So yeah, it was January that the American Pediatrics Association, if I'm not
Yep.
mistaken, made new recommendations, and it was covered on a very popular mainstream podcast called what is it called? The Drive? No, it's not the Drive. Excuse me. The Daily. I think
Yeah.
it's the New York Times that does it. And somebody sent this to me because they couldn't believe what they were hearing, and so I turned it on and listened. I told you guys I've listened to this 5 times literally because
Yep.
I keep thinking like, no, I didn't hear that. I must have misheard it, or maybe it was out of context. Let me go check this out again. And as you and I were talking off air, this will sound like it was chronological in this short episode, but it really wasn't. It just kind of skipped around. But to be able to identify the problem of what's going on, with our general population, especially our children, obesity is a huge problem, is what they're saying. So it
Yeah.
wasn't really a problem in the 60s. It started to become more and more of a problem in the 70s and 80s. We did studies even in schools where we went to different school districts. In one school district, we did everything that we thought would benefit these kids. We taught them about exercise. We gave them more fruits and vegetables. We observed what happened for a period of time, however long it was. There was no difference between that school district and the control. So from that observation, among others, we have decided that obesity is such a big problem. It's increasing. We need to really nip it in the bud. Therefore, and this is where it all turns.
Yeah.
Therefore, at age 2, we're recommending, I think it's like 26 hours of some type of counseling. They said it would be not really covered by insurance. It was for the 2-year-old, which I don't even know what kind of therapy do you do for a 2-year-old? I don't
You
know.
know.
Shock therapy on the kid, like every time
Yeah,
he sees
really.
a donut or a Twinkie or something. I don't know. So that could start at age 2. By age 12, the doctors are recommended to prescribe Ozempic or other, this new class of weight loss drugs, kind of
Right.
converted from like a diabetes drug over to a weight loss drug that kills your appetite. And by 13, they're recommending bariatric surgery. And even in the episode, like the host is kind of like acknowledging, like, wow, that's kind of like a big deal, like bariatric surgery. And the guest is like, yeah, it's a really big deal. We need to really consider this because the child's stomach's never going to go back to what it was before. This is, a one and done kind of a thing, and we're going to alter this for the rest of your life. But this is how important we think this problem is. Well, I can't. What? How do you
I know.
identify the problem perfectly and not think that maybe something else is going on? Like, do you think maybe something changed in the 50s
Right.
and 60s and 70s that developed this problem that's not just like fruits and vegetables and exercise? Like, it's so insane what they're
It is.
recommending to kids, and it just seems like every few months they double down on some stupid recommendation, or there's another new study that says low carb diets associated with this. You read how it's done. The studies are terrible. You read
Yep.
what they're measuring. It's not even relevant. It's a
Right.
food study that they did 13 years ago where they asked somebody what they ate once for
Right.
a year average or whatever. And then we go back and say, okay, well, this guy had some red meat. We don't know with what, but we're going to say, oh, since there were 2 more heart attacks in this group than there were in the control, then this group that had red meat is dying and will die of heart attack. It's so insane.
It
It's
is.
insane.
And it's so sad because they're trying to say that they think maybe there's a genetic component to this, even though we never ever saw type 2 diabetes in children before the 70s. I mean, even when I started practicing in 92, we didn't see it very much at all. And now all
That's
of a
right.
sudden we're seeing it. It's like if all these things happened since around the 70s, and that's when our new dietary guidelines came in, and that's when our obesity rates, our type 2 diabetes rates, all that metabolic syndrome, they have skyrocketed since then. Why are they so against putting the two together and say, oh, maybe this is because of what they eat, what our children eat and everything. And so I actually talked to our endocrinologist or her dietitian, And she actually told me that, yes, they know that this is because of the food that they eat, but people don't want to change the way they eat. So instead, they have to do this. Well, now they're doing this like the Ozempic, which, yes, it does keep food in your stomach for a little bit longer. That's why your body actually produces this normal hormone. But it also increases your insulin levels, which is the whole problem with this anyway, is keeping our insulin levels high. And that's why when they give them the Ozempic, they say, here, you're going to be on this for the rest of your life. It's like, of course you're going to be on the rest of life, because it continues to make your insulin be higher than it should be for longer periods of time. So we are actually making your type 2 diabetes worse with this medication. But hey, if it makes you where you don't want to eat as much, which is the same thing they could do with just eating meat and fat, and that will stay in your stomach for a longer period of time. That'll keep you satiated for a longer period of time. And they won't do this. They're going to go Ozempic, and now they're going to say, and if you're 13 years old, we're going to cut out part of your stomach. You will never have it the rest of your life. And they're acting like this is a great recommendation, instead of just saying, why don't you just get away from man-made processed food with the box, bottles, bags, and cans, and just eat the nutrition that we used to eat all the way from the very beginning of time.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
That's why
you got me riled.
We're all of us are now riled up. This is great. This is why I love your work, and making things simple for people is just eat the food that a species was adapted to. Every species has things that they eat and things that they are not adapted to eat. You can't feed a tiger the same way you feed a turtle. Why would we be so like vastly different? We have short growing seasons where things are available that we can eat, and fruits and vegetables and things like that. And we can prepare them. We can, soak things and sprout things and ferment things and make them really safe. We can also, use fire to help us, process the calories from meat. And we that is our species appropriate diet. And if we stick to that, everything seems to go really well. And it's funny to think back on, the work of like Nina Teicholz. I just love people like her that are journalists. They're not in the health space. They are paid to ask questions, write books and write articles, and they're just investigating things. And to think that our nutrition guidelines were set up to create help with really one thing, like it was heart attacks. And it was really only like kind of sort of studied in middle-aged dudes. So we changed the diet and the nutritional guidelines for every man, woman, and child in the entire country to help with one thing. And that was heart attacks. Right. What's the number one killer in America right now? It's heart attacks. It didn't even fix the one thing that it was trying to fix in a very small subset of the population. And now we have all these other pandemics, diabetes, of obesity, of sleep apnea, sleep issue, like you name it. Like we have such a worse outcome, and we didn't even solve the one problem we were trying to fix. It's crazy.
Right. And that's what I thought was interesting, because it all started back in 55 when Eisenhower had a heart attack. And it threw everybody over, because they had no idea what caused heart attacks. We didn't used to have heart attacks back then, ain't nowhere near like we do now. Yep. So things have to start clicking in people's minds, like, what all changed at the same time? Yeah. And that's why, and I know you're strict carnivore. We aren't. We do love meat, and a lot of our meals are just strictly meat. But we say, if you want to eat fruits and vegetables, if your body tolerates them, then do. If they don't, then that's definitely, there are reasons why a lot of people don't tolerate vegetables. But if you don't tolerate them, don't eat them. Yeah. But still, any of that, even the worst meat you can get from a grocery store, and the vegetables are going to be way better than anything you're getting down those middle aisles, and then box, bottles, bags, cans, packaged meats, all that crud that is killing. It's killing all, and it's killing the whole world, because we're sending these off to all these other countries too. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more with what you said. Our food system, when it comes to animal products, is very high quality, and I align myself with the idea that buying your meat, if all you can afford is buying something at your local Walmart, it might not be local to you, but it's local to all of us. It is local, USA produced. It is a very high standard. If people have the have the means to do different things, like I know you guys buy half a cow. I was able to do that last year, which is great. It's still in my freezer. Like, if you can do that, awesome. But yeah, you don't need to break the bank. You can do this on a few dollars a day. It does not need to be cost prohibitive whatsoever.